Why yes, ham too. Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. Yes, Dingus the plushie is now a thing that has occurred, and here is Dingus's ham. They are so very, very happy together. How's everyone been? Welcome, one and all, from all the various places from within which you are coming. I know we've got some Escape Artists folks here. I know we have some Magnus folks here, some friends from the Isle of Man, from York, from various other locations. Wherever you're from, thank you for choosing to be here with us tonight. A little bit of information for new folks who might not be too sure about how things work. Basically, this is a fun sandwich. The first part of the fun is we do like a little monologue, which is basically an excuse for me to kind of get into the groove a little bit, and the equivalent of trailers from the cinema in the before times, so you can get comfortable. Then we'll do a little bit of the story. We're currently doing a Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher, aka Ursula Vernon, which is fantastic. And then after that, well, I understand we have some newly approved emotes, and it would be a shame not to give you a reason to use them. So, without further ado, please begin the process of getting comfortable and drink a water, have a food, sort your meds, anything that needs to be done. And this week's opening monologue is another Nick Crowley joint, but this one is from Twitter. Seriously though, imagine how easy it would be to make a version of Black Mirror that scared medieval people. A crab comes forth from clockwork and pincheth a man. A yeoman boileth a pot, but it shrieketh at him. A ghastly play, acted out by imps upon an flat glass. A winch lifteth not a stone block, instead it scowls at a child. A wagon denieth the name of our Lord. A mastiff hunteth not the boar, moreover they form a dread pact. What if hats did revolt against God? A spoon slideth across a hall unbidden. A monk catches glimpse of an ape at night. A hammer striketh the smith, and yet not the blade. From a man's wound hatcheth an dog. A plough moveth across a field, but no horse is seen. How can this be? A cobbler crafteth a new boot for his lord, yet it pisseth on him. Content warning, language. What if the image of an saint began to laugh with a voice most cruel? A worm does speak ill of the king, and he falleth ill. A man takes onions to market, yet arriveth afore he left. Upon drawing ale from a bucket, a miller discovereth it more full yet. A yeoman's axe whispereth to him a number of foul words. What if there liveth not one pope in Holy Rome, but another in Avignon? That's a deep cut for history buffs. A sort of rock, when ground, gives forth flame. A stone thus propelled may strike a hole in the chest of a man. A goblet begins to ask riddles in the speech of the Turks. Beloved of its methods, each home in Christendom buildeth a trebuchet. They are too many. A mill wheel is built too craftily. It takes to the road and there robs men.
Almost kept a straight face on that one.
Almost. Fields are left fallow between seasons. It driveth men to madness. A pig with a fell aspect is seen in London town. Thou turneth a bestiary to its last page, and find thine own visage. Lightning striketh a butcher's shop. The mutton therein takes on a form like that unto a Saracen. The king learneth to speak with the pope by means of a cup set upon a string. It bringeth him small joy. Mead is brewed from a liquor of wasps. It is good, but causes boils. A merchant hears a sorrowful cry by night, yet no owl is seen. the noise cometh from a barrel. A man doth glut himself upon a new type of bean, and groweth a tail in penance. A scarecrow readeth the gospel, and take him a wife. What if it be like unto a man as you or I? It's going well. And finally, a fool inscribes a face upon a cabbage. This foul vegetable man begins then an uprising against the king. What if brigands learnt to set a man's own shoes upon him in the manner of starved hounds? And finally, consider mayhaps that all the world existeth in the mind of a pig. Nate Crowley, everybody.
Remind folks, for those joining late, what on earth you were reading.
For those of you coming in late, that was a Twitter thread by a very good friend of ours and a fantastically talented author called Nate Crowley. Nate is on Twitter as Frog Croakley, and he does a lot of stuff for Warhammer 40,000 these days. He's also the reviews editor for Rock Paper Shotgun, which is why there is a very enthusiastic review over there of a genuinely fantastic sounding game called I Am Dead, in which he talks at length about how interesting it is to look inside fruit, because you can in I Am Dead. He's also the author of a fantastic zombie duology called The Death and Life of Schneider Rack. His new one, Notes from Small Planets, is out very shortly, and we're working on doing something very special with that. And he is best known for 100 video games that do not exist, which, like so much stuff Nate does, started life as a Twitter thread and then just went places.
Much like Alex, it got taken to its logical
It got taken to its logical conclusion. Nate, it should be noted, is the guy who, for a friend's birthday one year, wrote a dystopian Twitter fiction about how his friend now ruled the world and demanded every day be celebrated like his birthday, which ran for 365 days and culminated in an enormous party at the friend's house where he was crowned, I believe, King of Birthdays. Nate's a good guy. So yeah, that's basically Black Mirror, but Chaucer, which is very cool. What's new with Alistair this week? Actually, a couple of things. I have a new t-shirt, and it's adorable. I also, tonight's gender, howling from a barrel.
Yes, everybody's very happy with the new t-shirt.
Good.
Because I don't remember what led to this.
There was something about Peter with a kitten in his pocket.
I think there was a lot of Elias Catboy art going around, and people were like, "Tiny Catboy in Peter's pocket." I'm like, ooh. T-shirt idea.
Good. Yeah, it's actually been a very busy week, as they all seem to be at the moment. But I've got a couple of things which are exciting and have happened. Wreck Runner, which is the Zombies Run race that myself and Merle Lafferty co-wrote, is out. It's in the world. People have played it, and they said they really liked it, and I'm very pleasantly surprised. Not that I didn't think it was bad, because it was very good, but it's always very weird when you create something, put it out in the world, and then someone else goes, "That was great," and you're like, "Really? Oh, good. I was worried it was just me." We have the pitch in for a possible sequel, and also pitches in for various other things, which I really, really want to have happen. And that's actually the not difficult thing, but the challenging thing that's happened this week. I have gone for a couple of things this week that it was difficult for me to go for. Without getting into tedious detail, there's a job at Tor.com, which is a part-time news writer, which I would really like to do, and I've done for a couple of different people, one of whom was Tor.com before now. And I applied for it. I am pretty certain I'm not going to get it. But I applied for it, and that's what counts. So I'm this is an interesting gear shift week, because we have a rule. I believe it's the end of September. No new projects.
Oh, yeah, the September cutoff.
Yeah. The end of September is the no new projects, finish what's already on your plate cutoff for us. And I'm now very much transitioning towards that as a mindset. I've got a lot of fun projects to do and a lot of things which I have to finish, and I need to focus on them and not on anything else that turns up, unless it's very shiny, which it won't be.
Sometimes they are very shiny, that's the problem.
They're very shiny. So yeah, there's that. I also have a piece which I'm needs heavily revising, but is going to be showing up um, via someone else's newsletter. Because it turns out that authors who all have newsletters, I think that might be the first time I just call myself an author. Do you want to mark the time code? Um,
10:11 p.m.
Thank you. Authors who have newsletters talk, and every now and again we go, "Do you want to run this?" Yeah, okay. Um, and I have a piece coming out in a very good friend's newsletter in a couple of weeks, I think, about an author who was tremendously influential on me, and then for very good reasons, which you probably read about, stopped being very influential on me very abruptly. And you can probably figure out who that is. It's not Michael or Sam Sykes, don't worry. But it's there was some emotional processing to do with that. I could tell because I sat down and thought, oh, I'll just rough this out, and then 1,500 words later, I was finished. So that was actually really good and healthy, and Rec runs out, and I'm really happy with that. And it's just a matter of pushing through,
Getting
and
back in the groove.
getting back in the groove. The groove. And that's what's new with Alistair this week.
I'm just gonna do this random.
Um,
It's just fun. I'm sorry.
Now, of course, proof of life. He's doing good.
Still no hats though.
Still no hats. We're still working on it, but I feel like Chungus's time in the story has yet to fully crest. We're picking our shot with the hats. We're picking our moment, like Hamilton.
Oh yeah, with the blue background, it does kind of look like the sea.
Was that a flagrant excuse to just put Dingus in the background again?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Bloop.
Bloop. Ham.
I don't know. I'm just having fun.
Good. That's the plan.
Okay.
Rise of the Chungus. Yes, indeed.
He needs to be fed tonight. Actually, we haven't done it yet.
He's going to be fed tonight, and then he's going to be fed in a couple of days. And in a couple of days, I'm going to do like a walkthrough from my mom on how to make sourdough because
we still have to do that too.
Because my mom, who is 75 and made her first GIF a couple of weeks ago, has decided that now they are at the point of lockdown where they're like, no, we're going to make sourdough now, which is good because that will distract people from having to go outside, which is nice.
Also say thank you to Topaz for the amazing bungus art.
Topaz, the bungus art. Oh my god, that was amazing.
Any discussion of Alistair looking like he's at sea makes me slightly uneasy.
But in a good way, right?
Yep.
You just... I've had a hat hurled at me, one moment.
Now you're at sea.
Either at sea or I'm about to go down pit.
No, that's enough of that. Okay.
Anyway. The central core of each one of these programs is that we read a piece of a serialized story. A little while ago, that was a fantastic creepypasta called Search and Rescue, which, when I saw the footage this morning of the tree burning on the inside but not on the outside, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I've read this. There's going to be a flight of stairs nearby, and hey, you guys, you want to come upstairs? No. No.
No, sir, we do not.
No. Is the bedroom door closed?
The bedroom door is closed.
Good, thank you. But recently we have transitioned across to the fantastic A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by Ursula Vernon, who also writes under the name T. Kingfisher. This is the story of a teenage girl who lives with her aunt and uncle in a world where magic is pretty common and also kind of feral. The way that magic works in this world is that you do one thing magically and you have no way of deciding what it is. One of the regular customers at the bakery that her aunt and uncle runs and where she works is a carpenter, and he's a very successful one because if there's a knot in a piece of wood, he can magic it out. So this isn't so much magic as huge fireballs and you shall not pass, but rather it's magic as, where are my keys? Oh, there they are. It's magic as tool. It's magic as app, if you will. And our heroine is eminently likable and can do amazing things and has a kind of pet who is a partially zombified, possibly sentient sourdough starter called Bob.
Bob!
Bob! Who is Chungus's other half. We have decided.
You have decided.
You have decided.
Shaq has decided.
Bungus. Team Bungus. And she's come into work one morning quite happily, ready to have another day of sweet rolls and baking, to find a dead body. And then to be arrested by the Grand Inquisitor. And then to be taken to the ruling family of the city, interrogated, and found innocent, but thrown out into the rain, hours from home. So, without further ado, and in the style of every 1990s Star Trek The Next Generation crossover, we continue. The rain had stopped. It turned out that my estimate of 3 hours to get home had been conservative. Took closer to 6. It doesn't take anything like 6 hours to walk across our city, so you can guess that I got turned around a lot. I followed a street that looked familiar for nearly 45 minutes, expecting it to turn into the roadway for the Birdbridge Canal, which I could follow home. Then it hit a wall, literally, ran smack into the side of a church that I didn't recognize. The angel over the doorway was 8 feet tall and had a stone blindfold over her face. She looked as if she were weeping. The carving under her feet read, "Our Lady of Sorrowful Angels." I thought about going in to ask for directions, but I really wasn't in the mood to talk to any more strangers today. So I just turned around and went back, and that was probably pretty dumb. But I'd had a really lousy day, and even Our Lady of Sorrowful Angels probably wouldn't want anything to do with me. Anyway, I found the right street eventually and made it to the bird bridge, which is covered in carvings of kingfishers and oyster catchers, the edges of their wings melting away under wet green moss. Then from the Birdbridge Canal through the Taylor district, where everyone was inside or under tarps, trying to keep their wares dry, and up to Market Street, which crosses all the big canals. You can take Market pretty much anywhere, even to Aunt Tabitha's bakery, but it's a roundabout sort of way. On the other hand, if your nerves are good, or if you're in no mood for delays, you can take a shortcut from one end of Market through the crooked alley called the Rat's Elbow, and you come out less than a block from the bakery. Rat's Elbow really wasn't that bad, but it had a number of offshoots, and most of those led into the Rat's Nest, which really is all that bad. Beer is cheap, blood is cheaper, as they say in there. I don't know how much blood costs out here, come to think of it. We don't use it much in baking, but presumably it's even cheaper in the Rat's Nest. We do use beer to make the dark ale bread. Costs 6 pennies a keg from the tavern down the street, and Aunt Tabitha says that's highway robbery, but she's never suggested buying beer in the Rat's Nest. By the time I made it to the Rat's Elbow, the rain had slowed to a tentative drizzle. The sun wasn't exactly shining, but there were some bright patches of cloud. I could see them reflected in the puddles down the middle of the cobblestones. Now, here's the problem with the Rat's Elbow. Even leaving aside the name and the proximity to the Rat's Nest, the street settled badly on one side, so the road slopes sharply from the north side down to the south. The settling made the houses on the south all lean in over the road. Various generations of owners have propped up the leaning walls with wooden beams, usually wedged right up against the street, so now it's impossible to get a carriage through, and half the road is always in the shadow of the leaning buildings. Plus there's a drainage problem. Even though the rain had been stopped for a little bit, the right side of the Rat's Elbow looked like a lake, with murky water swirling around and occasionally over the front steps of the buildings. People watched me from the wet front steps. There were people on the porches and in the dark, unshuttered windows. They weren't doing anything threatening. They were playing cards and talking, and a dead-faced woman was pinning up laundry to a clothesline, standing knee-deep in brown water. Nobody said anything to me, and I didn't exactly stare, but they knew I was there. And I knew that they knew, and they knew that I knew that they knew, all in a creepy, crackling tangle of mutual awareness. It occurred to me that it was much easier to scoot through the Rat's Elbow when Aunt Tabitha was expecting me back any minute and would raise holy hell if I didn't arrive. But she had no idea where I was, and if she was going to start looking for me, she'd start back at the palace. Nobody knew where I was, except for the people in Rat's Elbow. They probably wouldn't do anything to me. They were poor, obviously. If you were rich, you don't live in Rat's Elbow. But just because you were poor didn't mean you were bad. I mean, poverty didn't mean that you were going to take an example, completely and totally at random, hit a bedraggled young woman over the head and go through her pockets to see if she had any money. It was just that it also didn't mean that you weren't. That one woman is doing laundry. Do bad people do laundry? It's not like I have anything worth stealing, but do they know that? So I walked a little faster. I could hear them talking quietly, and some kids had come out and were playing, and they got quieter when I walked by. And then it took a minute for the noise to start up again behind me. I wish Aunt Tabitha were here. I wish Uncle Alfred were here. I even sort of wish Bob was here. I don't think anybody had messed with Bob. Not twice, anyway. There was a clattering noise behind me. The skin on the back of my neck crawled. But I was not going to look around. No, I wasn't. Definitely not. Oi! Bread go! I turned around. 2 empty eye sockets, dark as sorrow, hung a little above my head. The skeletal face swept down into long, smooth bones that framed a cavernous nasal passage stuffed with twigs. An empty jaw opened and closed with a hollow clacking. I stared into the face of a dead horse and nearly fainted with relief.
You tease.
Yep. Chapter 7. Knackering Molly was, to put it bluntly, insane. She wasn't stupid, though. There was a sharp, glittering intelligence inside the insanity that had learned early on that it was much easier to get away with being insane if you were also useful and had a little bit of money and if people were just a bit scared of you. Molly was like me, a very minor wizard, but her talent was even weirder. She could make dead horses walk. Now, this may not sound like a very good talent, but if you live in a large city with narrow streets, it's pretty handy. Horses are useful animals, but they die like everybody else, and when they're dead, they're about 1,000 pounds of meat and bone that you have to dispose of before it starts to stink. The knacker men, who run the big rendering yards at the edge of town, they'll pay money for the dead horse, but they also charge money to come take it away. And they have to roll a cart in, and the cart takes up space and disrupts traffic and blocks people's doorways, and then the people loading the horse onto the cart have to get paid. And sometimes they have to start butchering the horse right there if they can't carry it out. And it's just this horrible business with blood and nastiness everywhere, and the neighbours get very put out. Or you can get Knackering Molly, and for 6pence she'll put her hand on the horse's head and it will stand up and walk to the knackers under its own power. Now, it's still pretty horrible to watch, but it's a lot less trouble. Anyway, you can spot Molly pretty easily. She rides around the city on Nag. Nag's been dead longer than I've been alive. He's mostly bones now. So she pads him with rags and straw and old flour sacks. He looks like a magpie's nest with hooves. People are sometimes a little nervous about us magic folk. I mean, we're born this way. Nobody knows why. My parents weren't magic at all. Nobody else in the family is either. But if you start complaining about magickas, there's always a chance that the person you're talking to knows one, or is married to one, or has one in the family, and they will get annoyed about it. And it's not like everyone advertises their ability. Presumably, some people have talents so obscure they never get to use them. There's a fairy tale, actually, about a girl who could talk to tornadoes, which would be pretty impressive, but we haven't had a tornado in River Braid in 100 years, so I mean, how often does it really come up? We're lucky here, though. Our city's really nice about magickas. Other than holding bits of iron in court, they don't treat you differently. Some cities don't allow magickas to live there at all, or make them register with the government. Delta City has the Spell Quarter, which is kind of a ghetto like the Rat's Nest, only just for wizards. None of that happens here in River Braid. If you're going to be a magicka, this is the place to live. If you're a wizard who can do big, scary, impressive things, you usually wind up in the army or working for the Duchess. Nobody really wants to live next to someone who can summon lightning out of the sky. The rest of us, who do little, small, not very impressive things, usually go out of our way to act harmless and useful so that people don't start making signs to warn off bad luck when we walk around. Knackering Molly doesn't care about any of that. If people make signs against bad luck when Nag trots by, she figures it's good advertising. Molly is the only other magicka, other than Master Elwich, that I talk to regularly. There's a girl at the farmer's market, and we nod to each other, but that's as far as it goes. I think most magic folk don't want to talk about it, and maybe they think that making gingerbread dance is a little too flamboyant. Although nobody is as flamboyant as Knackering Molly. Hi Molly, I patted Nag's nose. The bones are so old they're not icky anymore, just dry and smooth. The rags are still pretty icky. There's not very much to Nag, but Molly once told me that he liked having his nose petted. So I try. What are you doing in the elbow, duck? Asked Molly, nudging Nag into a walk beside me. Trying to get home, I said wearily. Nag's hooves went clonk, clonk, clonk on the pavement. Regular horse hooves go clop. Please don't ask me why Nag's went clonk. She peered down at me, her lined face drawing even more lines as she frowned. If you don't mind me saying so, love, you look like the arse end of a seagull. Which is pretty insulting if you think about it. But
Sorry.
You're right.
Arse end of a seagull is a hell of a compliment.
Which is pretty insulting if you think about it, but perversely it made me feel better. When you feel absolutely wretched, it's consoling to know that you look just as awful as you feel. Your uncle's not dead, is he now? Saw the body wagon at your aunt's place. No, my uncle's fine. I kept walking. People weren't staring now. Apparently, a girl walking through the elbow was unusual, but a girl with a mad woman riding a dead horse was perfectly acceptable. There was probably a moral lesson in there somewhere, but I'd given up on morals for the day. There was a dead girl in the bakery. Ah, said Knackering Molly. Who killed her? They thought I did it. I said gloomily. Did ya? No! Well then. She sat back. You're a good girl. You probably have a good reason. I ain't judging. But if you didn't do it, who did? I don't know. My shoes squelched. Nag went through a puddle and splashed water up the side of my trousers. There sent a man out from the palace. Said something about her death being magic. Magic? Molly threaded her hands into Nag's rags. No good come a poking round in death magic, duck. Says the woman riding the dead horse, I thought, but did not say. I don't know. I had nothing to do with it. I went up to the palace and saw the Duchess. It occurred to me as I was saying it that it should have been very exciting. Seeing the Duchess, even with everything else, she'd actually spoken. To me. She'd been distant and busy, but she'd kept me from getting thrown in jail. I wasn't excited, though. I was just bone tired. And honestly, still a little mad. Molly didn't say that it shouldn't have been exciting. She only said, ah, again. And then after a minute, there's a thing, anyway. She told them to let me go. Well, I mean, she talked to a wizard, and I guess he told her. Wizards! Knackering Molly leaned over Nag's withers and spat on the ground. We're wizards? I said mildly. Not like real wizards, duck. We're just little people, you and me. She slapped Nag's skeletal shoulder. The big wizards? Well now, the government wizards. You stay clear of them, Brad girl. They're no good for nobody. They're worse for people like us. They say some wizards came around once, when Molly was young, to ask her if she could make dead people walk, probably thinking that if she could make dead soldiers get up and fight, she'd be worth a lot to the right people. She doesn't talk about that. Miss McGrammer said that she couldn't do it, but I heard Bruce the Chandler say once that he thought she had been able to do it, and that's why she came back crazy. Even if she just made the cavalry horses get up and charge again, they would have shoved her out on a battlefield to do it, and how awful would that have been? I wanted to ask her more about it, I wanted to ask him more about it, but all he'd say was that she hadn't been any crazier than anybody else, before the wizards took her away. She hates the government now, mutters about that a lot, but then again she also mutters that the fleas are the ghosts of ancient philosophers and they're trying to suck out the truth from her ankles. This doesn't stop her from driving a very hard bargain when you want a horse moved, though. People have tried to take advantage of her because they think she's not right in the head. It does not end well for them. Lord Ethan's okay, I said, remembering that golden, glittering presence in the audience chamber and the way he'd smiled at me. I mean, I think he told her I couldn't have done it. Yeah, Molly was unconvinced. Waves in parades, maybe, but he's a war wizard right enough. Maybe he did you a good turn now, but he'll kill you if you get in his way. Not out of meanness, like some of them, but just like a bug. She rooted in her bird's nest hair for a minute and pulled out some small wiggly thing. Like a bug. Her thumbnail came down and cracked it. At least he's not mean, I said faintly. Lord Ethan could call storms out of the sky to slam the enemy flat. The songs the minstrels sing on street corners said he could control the lightning, but I couldn't imagine him crushing somebody like a bug. Mean or not, you're still dead, Bredgo. She straightened up. And here we are, almost done. Oh. I looked around, surprised. We'd emerged from the rat's elbow onto the street, and I hadn't even noticed. Oh, thank you. Knackering Molly shrugged. Rat's elbow's not as bad as some places, but you gotta walk careful, right? Never hurts to have a friend with you, even if it's just old Nag. She leaned down over the dead horse's neck and gestured. Come here, Bredgo. Somewhat reluctantly, I came. I was grateful for her escort, but, I mean, she was still insane, and more importantly, she stank to high heaven. Most of it was unwashed woman and unwashed cloth, but there was a distinct reek of the knacker yard clinging to her as well. Word of advice, she hissed, leaning close in. I tried really hard not to flinch, expecting her breath to stink as bad as the rest of her, but it was unexpectedly sweet, like mint. You walk careful, Bread Girl. Little people like us, we're not safe these days. Watch your back. What? Her eyes stabbed into mine. You look out for the spring green man. I blinked. The who? Molly leaned back and put her heels into Nag, and he turned as neatly as a parade mount and clattered back into Rat's elbow. It didn't occur to me until after she'd gone that I should run after her, maybe ask her what she'd heard, or who the spring green man was supposed to be, or even what any of this meant. But I was only a block from the bakery, and it had been a long, long day. Chasing a madwoman on a dead horse into the bad part of town just didn't seem worth the effort right now, you know? Particularly since her spring green man was probably just another figment of her imagination, like the truth-sucking fleas. Still, the name made me uneasy, somehow, in a way that the fleas never did. Stupid. I muttered to myself, folding my arms tight and hurrying towards the bakery. Stupid name. Stupid inquisitor. Stupid long day.
Necromancy. N-E-I-G-H.
Neuroprancer.
Neuroprancer.
Neuroprancer was the winner for me.
Nice.
I very nearly saw Neuroprancer at the exact wrong time, so perfect. That is she hydrated until she dehydrated. Chapter 8. When I walked in the door, Aunt Tabitha made all the proper noises and sat me down with a mug of hot tea and made me tell the story 3 times, and then snapped at Uncle Albert to stop pestering me about it. Couldn't he see I was exhausted? The only thing he'd said all afternoon was, "Good heavens," and sent me home. The girl was gone out of the bakery anyway. Presumably the body wagon had come and taken her. I didn't ask. I did ask if Aunt Tabitha wanted me to set the bread out to rise overnight, but she said that she'd been running the bakery for 20 years and she could manage just this once and that I should get some sleep. So I went back to my room. The rain had come back in spurts and spatters, and the cobblestones gleamed wetly. They were lighting the streetlights already, but the lamplighter hadn't gotten this far yet, so the street was dark and gloomy. That didn't matter. It was only 6 doors down, barely a block. I could have walked it blindfolded. You'd think after a day like that I would have been jumpy and paranoid. I really wasn't. I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just watching my feet go one in front of the other, and then somebody grabbed me from out of the dark. Where is she?
Really?
Yes, a voice snarled in my ear, and I was wrenched off the street into the shadows of the alleyway. Sweet Lady of Angels, is this day never going to end? I should probably have been scared. No, I should definitely have been scared. Mostly, though, I was just tired. I wanted to go home. I wanted to go back to my warm little room over the glassblower's shop and lie down in the bed and pull a quilt over my head and go to sleep and wake up stupidly early and go make cinnamon rolls and apple pull-aparts and gingerbread men. Where's who? Tibby, said the voice in my ear, sounding frustrated and also surprisingly high-pitched. I'll go back and do that again. Tibby, said the voice in my ear, sounding frustrated and also surprisingly high-pitched. What did you do with her? Who's Tibby? I tried wriggling. There was an arm around my neck and it was making it hard to breathe, but my attacker seemed to be shorter than I was and wasn't getting a very good angle. Let me go! Not until you tell me where Tibby is! I don't know who that is! I grabbed for the arm around my neck. Stop it! Stop it! I'm warning you! The voice was definitely shrill, and I was slapped against the side of the building. Bricks scraped against my hands. Let me go! I got my fingers around the arm, bent forward as far as I could, and pulled. Now, this wouldn't have worked in most cases, but I had two things going for me. One, I was a baker, and you don't punch dough every day for 2 years without developing some pretty hefty forearms. I may not be very big, but I'll bet you a tray of cinnamon buns I can now arm wrestle any girl my age. Two, my attacker was a 10-year-old boy. I wrenched away, turned, and faced him. He wasn't big. My neck was probably about the highest he could reach. He was wiry, but he looked skinny and underfed, like a stray dog. His eyes were way too big for his face, and the grime on his face was marred by tear tracks. Where is she? He demanded again, sounding furious and miserable. He bounced on the balls of his feet, apparently not sure if he should launch himself at me again or run away. Where's who? Tibby! He said, practically yelling. My sister! Why do you think I know? She was in your bakery! I closed my mouth with a snap. Oh no. I leaned against the wall next to him. The mad was gone. I was just so tired. Tell me what happened, I said, finally pinching the bridge of my nose. When did she go into the bakery? Last night, said the boy, snuffling and wiping his nose on the back of his hand. She went in last night, but she didn't come out again. What did you do with her? There was a question I wasn't willing to answer just yet. Why did she go into the bakery? It was cold. We were hungry. There's good food in there. Sometimes. He glared at me, daring me to say anything. We're going back sometimes. Take a few buns. Not stuff. We don't nick stuff. Thank you. Now, the parish priest would probably argue that stealing was stealing, whether it was day-old buns or Aunt Tabitha's good knives. But you know what? The priest wasn't here. I could understand the difference just fine. Food was one thing. Good knives were hard to replace. I wondered how long they'd been breaking into the bakery. I wondered why none of us had noticed. We didn't touch nothing, he said, as if reading my mind. We're careful. If we nick stuff, you put up locks and guards and whatever. And then we couldn't get buns whenever we want some. Now, there was a certain logic to that, and I decided to let it go. So Tibby went in. About when was this? I don't know, about midnight. I was going to go in too, but she said no, she'd do it quick. She was sneaking, you know. Then what happened? The boy shrugged. Then the other man showed up. Wait, what other man? You know, your uncle or whoever. The one in the yellow-greeny outfit. The notion of Uncle Alfred wandering around after midnight, going into the bakery by the back door, was odd. The notion of him wearing anything but baker's whites or threadbare black was ridiculous. Uncle Alfred had strictly monochromatic taste, probably because of Aunt Tabitha and her house dresses. Look out for the spring green man, Molly had said. That couldn't have been my uncle. Who was it? How should I know? It's your bakery. I pinched the bridge of my nose. So this man went into the bakery. Yeah. The boy snuffled again and stared up into the gloomy eaves above us. Then what happened? He came out, and then you went in a while later, and there was a whole ruckus, and I couldn't get close enough to see what was happening, and then they came and took you away. I remembered that bit. I sighed. Oh, okay. Look, they took a dead body out of the bakery. Must have been your sister. I'm so sorry. There was probably a better way to tell him the news, but I was just so horribly tired. He stared at me for a moment, then snorted, and that was not the response I was expecting. Don't be stupid. Be patient, I told myself. Be kind. He just lost his sister. He's in shock. She's not dead. You're stupid. I am not as good a person as I should be, because I kind of wanted to slap him. I'm sorry, I said instead. You're wrong, he said. He turned away, and I expected him to stomp off, but he turned back suddenly. Show me. Show you what? The bakery. Show me. She must still be in there, or maybe she slipped out again. Maybe she left me a sign. Okay. I shoved my hands in my pockets. I wanted to go to bed. I really, really wanted to go to bed. Now, when it's real dark, I don't want to be explaining to a lot of grown-ups. They'll be stupid about it too. Okay, I pointed up the stairs. I live up there. Come get me when it's late enough for you, and I'll show you. He nodded once, sharply, and then pelted out of the alley as if there were zombie crawfish after him.
You think that's a good place to stop, or do you want to do one more chapter?
I feel like one more.
Okay, let's do one more chapter.
Let Mona sleep challenge. It's
Hold
like
on a second, we have to lighten the mood because... I don't know what that was, but it was fun. This poor little boy.
Poor kid. I was asleep chapter 9. I was asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow, and approximately 5 seconds later someone was shaking me awake. I opened my eyes. It was the boy again. When he saw I was awake, he stepped back and folded his arms. Come on, it's nearly midnight. It is, really? I sat up and squinted at the window. Sure enough, deep dark outside. I'd slept for hours. It didn't feel like it at all. My head was pounding. I was starving. Although I had a distinct memory of having wolfed down a couple of cold cinnamon rolls before I fell into bed. I also had a distinct memory of locking the door. How did you get in here? He looked at me, and then at the door, and then back at me with the sort of pure disdain that only someone under the age of 12 can manage. I knocked first, he said. You didn't answer. Any doubts I'd had about him breaking into the bakery were gone. Aunt Tabitha had bought a very sturdy lock for my door since I was living alone, and I wondered how long it had taken him to jimmy it. Fine. I swung my feet onto the floor. You hungry? He shrugged, which is a yes. There's some buns on the table. I got up and dug through my clothes chest, looking for a sweater. By the time I'd found one and pulled it over my head, there was one bun left. The kid, whatever his name was, had gone through them, apparently without chewing. Or breathing. He'd also left me one, even though he was obviously starving. What's your name? I asked, tearing into the last roll. He eyed me suspiciously. Suspicion and disdain actually appeared to be his only 2 expressions. No, wait, I'd seen anger when he first attacked me. 3 expressions. Look, you don't have to tell me your real name if you don't want to. I just want something to call you other than, hey, you. I'm Mona. Spindle, he said finally. I doubted that his mother had named him that. Still, he was as tall and thin as a spindle, and nearly as sharp. I decided to go with it. Okay, Spindle, I brushed crumbs off my front. Let's go. Opening the bakery at midnight felt like we were breaking into it, even though I worked there and would normally be doing exactly the same thing in about 4 hours. I shut the door nervously, leaned against the big oven. The banked warmth was a relief from the chill outside. She was on the floor, just here, I said, pointing to a spot in the middle of the floor. I think Aunt Tabitha probably cleaned it, though. I was trying to be tactful. Aunt Tabitha had definitely mopped up because there wasn't an enormous blood stain anymore. Spindle examined the kitchen with an almost professional detachment. He examined the counters and the floor, even the ceiling. I was almost sorry that we cleaned up because he was doing a much more thorough job than the constables had. Finally, he went down on his knees on the floor, peering under the table. My stomach quivered. He was kneeling right where his sister's blood had pooled all over the floor. I wanted to tell him to move, but, I said with no real idea how to continue. There's something under here, he interrupted. There is? I crouched down next to him. I had to put a hand down to steady myself right where the girl's head had been. Look, you have to stop this. You're going to be working here for years, maybe the rest of your life if you inherit the bakery, and if you do this every time you walk across the floor. I forcibly shoved away the memory and leaned down. Sure enough, there was something under there, some bit of metal, winking in the lantern light. It might just be some silverware, I said. It's not, Spindle said. It's something else. I don't know if I can reach it. He wedged his arm under the table up to the shoulder. Almost. Should be. No. He pulled back, frowning and dusting flour off his clothes. Can we move the table? I've got a better idea. I cracked open the door to the front and slipped through. There should still be a gingerbread man left from the last batch, and yup. It was starting to get stale, which made it harder to animate, and my headache came roaring back full force, but I gritted my teeth and stared down and thought, live. The gingerbread man stood up on my palm, stretching. I sat him down on the floor. There's something under the table, I told it. Will you go get it for me? The gingerbread man saluted, ducked his head, it was a tight fit, even for a cookie, and walked under the table. Spindle's eyebrows had vanished under his hair. You're a wizard, he said. His tone wasn't accusing, it was just surprised. It was my turn to shrug. Only with dough, I said. It's not very useful. He nodded. Tibby's a wizard. Really? She sneaks, he said, making a wiggling hand gesture that could have meant anything. You know, I didn't, but presumably she had some kind of magical talent for hiding. Do you mean that she turns invisible or something? Just about, said Spindle proudly. Me, I've got no magic. I've got to just stay low and quiet. But she can hide in a cat's shadow, almost. That was interesting. Not a huge wizarding talent, maybe, but a pretty good one compared to Bread. Knackering Molly's words suddenly came back to me. Little people like us, we're not safe. Had she meant little wizards? Minor magical talents. She warned me about the Spring Green Man too, and here Spindle had seen somebody in yellow-green trap his sister in my bakery, and then there was a dead wizard girl. A rash of wizard murders, the Inquisitor had said. I'd assumed he meant murders by wizards, but maybe that's just what he was hoping people would think. There's something going on, I said, hugging myself. Somebody's killing wizards. The Inquisitor said it. And Knackering Molly. They must have gotten your sister. Spindle scowled. Somebody's killing wizard folk, all right. Words all over the street, but they didn't get Tibby because Tibby's not dead. I didn't have anything to say to that. The gingerbread man emerged from under the table, pushing the metal object. It was some kind of bracelet. A half moon of silver joined by a chain. The chain was broken and clinked as Spindle picked it up. In the pale light of the lantern, his face turned the colour of old cheese. Tibby's bracelet, he said. It was our mum's. I'm sorry, I said. He turned and ran out of the bakery. I called his name, but he wasn't a dog. He didn't come back. I stood there in the doorway for a while, the gingerbread man on my shoulder, staring out into the dark streets and the splash of yellow radiance the streetlight left across the stones. I'd known it was Tibby. It was better Spindle knew it too. It was better to know than not to know. Not knowing was terrible. Something patted my cheek. I looked down and saw the gingerbread man on my shoulder. He was steadying himself with a hank of hair in one hand, and with the other he reached up and caught the tears I hadn't known I was crying. And we'll leave it there.
Oh, poor Spindle.
Poor Spindle, poor Mona. These two kids are just going to wreck ass by the end of this story, aren't they? It's like,
I hope so, yeah. I hope so. It's a bit of a rough time for them.
just absolutely the worst day ever.
Oh, people are emotionally compromised over a gingerbread cookie. Yeah, the gingerbread cookie sticks around. So, yeah.
If folks want to end on a lighter note, I could do another chapter, but...
No, I think it's getting late. And, I mean, I'm sure you have something else that you could come up with.
What, you mean...
I think that's exactly what you mean.
Every time I do this, by the way, my brain goes, shenanigans.
Well, now there's emojis for it, too.
Shenanigans.
Now there are emojis for it, exactly.
Okay, so we have 3 pieces of shenanigans for you.
Oh, at least.
At least, coming to you live from the Shenanicam. The first one of which is, there has been do we know who requested this?
Which one is this now?
Okay,
there's a couple of these, so you're going to have to show me.
That one.
That one. I can't remember where this originated from. Someone, I think it was on Tumblr, started doing the cast of Hamilton. And all of a sudden the idea was that Elias would be singing You'll Be Back.
And now, thanks to the magic of the internet...
You're not going to get through this with a straight face.
Dirtball Elias.
Aww.
The best Elias cover Elvis in all the land will now perform for you.
Oh, okay. Just be growly. Just be super growly.
You say the price of my love's not a price that you're willing to pay. You cry in your tea, which you hurl in the sea when you see me go by. Why so sad? Remember, we made an arrangement when you went away. Now you're making me mad. Remember, despite our estrangement, I'm your man. You'll be back. Soon you'll see. You'll remember you belong to me. You'll be back. Time will tell. You'll remember that I served you well. Oceans rise, empires fall. We have seen each other through it all. When push comes to shove, I will send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love. Thank you.
Sorry, if you're gonna do it, we'll do it in my head. You have to do the shoulder wiggles, everybody says. Da, 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 da.
You say our love is draining and you can't go on. You'll be the one complaining when I am gone. And no, don't change the subject. Because you're my favorite subject. My sweet, submissive subject. My loyal, royal subject. Forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. You'll be back, just like before. I will fight the fight and win the war. For your love, for your praise, and I will love you till my dying days. When you're gone, I'll go mad. So don't throw away this thing we had. Because when push comes to shove, I will kill your friends and family to remind you of my love.
Da, 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 da. You have to do the shoulder thing. Everybody!
Everybody!
Oh, okay, that's cursed.
There we are. Cursed content achieved. There is a fantastic and now sadly finished Jimmy Olsen comic series, which I have been reading and cracking up at constantly. And the line, "Wow, that is definitely some content you created there, buddy," has kind of echoed around in my brain a lot.
Yeah, the curse, the clips on that are going
Just,
to be.
I regret nothing.
Oh, you rarely do.
I rarely do. So we had that, and then
Yes.
we got some mail today. Hey Z, hey Jax, what's up? Look at this gorgeousness. Look at this, which I'm hurling around. Just, it's all really nice and amazing. And Z and Jax are incredibly talented human beings.
Just hold it up. There we go. Visitors pass.
Visitors pass. Look at this. Look at how amazing DMA fandom is. Look at you people. My God.
Show the pin. I love the little pin. I don't know if you can read it. Do you want me to read it?
You read it.
Okay. I think it's Peter, and it says, "Martin, I can't find that cat video again." And by the way, I'm totally stealing this.
Martin,
Martin, I'm a Mimi!
I've become a Mimi.
I've become a Mimi. Here we go. Let me. Yes. Yoink! Yoink is a scientific term. Well, included in the package was a certain piece of correspondence.
Peter, excuse an old man for putting pen to paper instead of picking up the phone, but we all know how much you despise answering the thing to begin with. It's been a while since you set out. I've kept a weather eye on maritime reports, but it's difficult to know where you'll be when not docked, so hopefully you've not run into anything particularly dangerous. I think I'd at least have noticed if you'd been stranded within the vast or something similar, but who's to say? Did you find what you were looking for, or should I ask if they'll find your crew? We both knew it was time for a sacrifice, Peter, but you didn't have to leave without a word. In any case, this letter isn't meant solely as a chastisement, as I did actually want to check in. It's been quiet on the home front. Not to say that I miss you, I just think you'd enjoy it. One line is crossed out there. You can guess what. Here's to the sea treating you well. But do write me soon. If you don't want to have to contact the Fairchilds, pardon me, but do write me soon, if you could. I don't want to have to contact the Fairchilds just to be sure you haven't drowned somewhere in the awful deep. Keep me posted, Peter. I mean it. You know I hate what I can't see, especially when it pertains to you.
Well, how's it signed?
Ever yours, Elias. Jax is melting.
That's good. That's kind of the intention there. So this is what happens when you send us stuff. We read it embarrassingly online. And I just want to show the rest of the things. There's these super cute little post-it notes, which I am also going to steal. Yes, I am. I'm totally going to steal the post-it notes. And I think we already had...
I love the Instagram cards.
The little Instagram cards, which are fantastic. And I think this is a sticker, which I will also steal. Elsa doesn't get any of this. This is mine now. Which is super cute, which I love.
The thing I absolutely love about this piece of artwork is you don't have to see the name on it. You can just hear, "Hello, John."
what do the Post-it notes say? The Post-it notes say, it's a perfect day for tea. Cheers. And they don't look very happy about their tea. But they are clinking mugs. It's super cute.
Yes.
And then... Well, Zalia channeled their inner poet.
Yes. Yes, they did.
And would you put that link in the chat because I don't have it to hand. Oh, they're not happy the tea was microwaved. Picky. What people like? What is Alistair allowed to keep? What?
I'm allowed to keep the fanzine
and the Instagram cards and the notes.
Yeah. It's all good.
Okay, we'll share. Don't worry.
Fair and equitable division. That's how this house works. So yes, Zalia produced an array of genuinely fantastic Magnus poems, which I'm just looking at the summary now. It's a collection of Magnus Archives Bredlik poems. In light of day or dark of night, Bredlik poems are fun to write. For Magnus,
what are Bredlik poems?
For Magnus fans, this gift I bring. Stick out my tongue and write the thing. This work is best viewed as a complete work rather than chapter by chapter because each bit is so short. Having chapters allows me to add new poems and give a character name to each one. Spoilers for everything. And it's an ongoing project. Fantastic. Chapter 1. My name is Cow. My name is Cow, and when the eye has opened up and filled the sky, archivist pass by and fear is trod. I feel no fear. I lick the god.
What is a Bredlik sonnet?
Zalia has dropped the origin of Bredlik.
Thank you.
See, educating y'all.
They're like iambic pentameter, aren't they?
I believe so. Chapter 2, episode 160. I wonder how well this will go. My name is John. I'll do this. My name is John, and all along I try my best, but all goes wrong. With statement read and truth unfurled, I speak the words. I end the world.
Okay, you rolling your eyes is a really good one there.
Chapter 3, Peter. My name is Pete, and on the sea, crew feed my God, and thus feed me. In institute, with truth and lies, lure Martin down, steal Jonah's eyes. Chapter 4, Jane Prentice. My name is Jane. You can't deny your lonely life. I hear you cry. Your door is closed, but not for long. When worms burrow deep, you'll hear their song. Chapter 5. I lick the fear. John. My name is John. I serve the eye. I read statements. I cannot die. And when hungry, your story clear. I hunt you down. I like the fear.
I am enjoying it, licking the fear.
Licking the fear.
Lick the fear may need to become an emoji. Alright, that's going on the emoji list. Lick the fear.
Hold on, just need to channel my inner mic. Chapter 6. Tim. My name is Tim. My brother gone. Join institute, but find it wrong. When circus comes with heavy load, I do not flinch. I press explode. Chapter 7. Not them. I am not them, and like a sty, my presence scratches at your eye. Your friend is gone, and when she died, she screamed in terror. You cannot hide.
These are all really good.
These are amazing, Zalia. Hold on. Mule mode. My name Martin, and with my plan, I will protect him while I can. Though lonely fog does cloud my heart, to save him we must be apart.
Aww.
Chapter 9. Lonely Eyes.
Oh, God.
My name is Pete. Live in the mist. In lonely life. Have not been kissed. When bet is made and stakes are highest, I hold his hand and kiss Elias.
Aw, yay.
Chapter 10. Jonah. Name is Jonah, and in my time, to save my skin, I did the crimes. Now world has end beneath the eye. In ruined world, I cannot die. Chapter 11. The Coming Storm. Mike Crew.
How many of these are there?
I don't know. My name is Mike. No, not that one. From spiral wiles I had to run, with family dead and need to fly, jump from tower and lick the sky.
Much licking.
And that is in fact the last one for now.
Okay.
Zalia, those are amazing.
That was a lot of fun.
So, we have had poetry, we've had amazing mail from Visitors Pass, we've had Hamilton. Some kids are having a really bad time, but there will be justice. I think that's about our show.
I think that's our show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us, folks. This is, as ever, an absolute blast. And just one more time with feeling. There we go.
I'm a niggas.
Thank-
Tell the fine folks where they can find you.
Thank you very much for joining us. We will be back on stream next Sunday at
This Sunday.
Next time Sunday happens, which is this coming Sunday at around 10 to around 12. Then we will be starting a new game. We'll be starting a thing called Windbound, which is kind of Breath of the Wildy survival-y type stuff. So that should be tons of fun.
That was the vote.
That was the vote.
The Sunday chat voted, and that was the game they wanted.
And then please join us back here next Wednesday at 10 when we find out whether Mona will ever actually get any sleep at all, and whether she and Spindle are just going to team up for kid justice.
Oh yeah, Mona and Spindle investigates. You know, MSI.
Yes.
As opposed to CSI. Yeah.
Yeah!
The won't get
Fooled
fooled
again!
again! Yeah, exactly. Okay.
And we really can't top that. So, massive thanks as ever to Ryan for our amazing theme music. Thank you to you for listening. Thanks to Ursula for permission to read her amazing book. Thanks to Marguerite for literally everything.
Oh, Specky, congrats! 99 stay on T. Happy boy. Congratulations.
Fantastic. Good job, Specky.
Cool.
And,
I think that's everything.
oh, hang on.
What's this?
Haven Lenny and A&M, you'll let me know when the cross stitch gets to you.
Oh!
Late breaking news. Look at it.
I don't know where I'm going to start putting all these things. That's going to start.
But it's a great problem to have.
It is a very good problem to have. Yes, it arrived safe and sound, and I'm still finding it a spot to live.
And it is glorious. Thank you so much, everybody. And we will see some of you on Sunday and the rest of you back here next week.
Sounds good. Bye.